Welcome to the crossroads of the known and the unknown. This is AJ Parr's Spiritual Journalist Podcast.
Well, here we are with Sharon Sananda Kumara. She is the head of the Kumara Academy of Transformation. And I'm really excited because we're going to talk about out-of-body travel. I'm really interested in hearing what your experiences are.
Too many to talk about in just the little time we have, but thanks for having me on again, AJ. It's a pleasure to be here. And out-of-body experiences, lucid dreaming, other dimensional travel is one of my favorite topics to talk about, definitely. I got started in 1999. My stepfather passed in 98. And I needed to know what happens when we die. I was raised Catholic, and I just couldn't resonate with we either go to heaven or hell type of thing. So I needed to know. I wasn't a good Catholic. What happens when we die? So I started studying up on the afterlife. I read books, mediumship books from the popular authors back then, and still popular. Well, George Anderson, James von Prague, John Edward, those types of mediums, and I was like, this is what makes so much sense to me. And while I was studying up on the afterlife, and not long after my stepfather passed, I started having sleep paralysis episodes and I didn't know what sleep paralysis was. I knew nothing about the metaphysical world. I knew nothing about the afterlife, that type of thing, or out-of-body experiences. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know it existed. I didn't pay attention to my dreams or anything like that as an adult. So the sleep paralysis started happening, and I thought I was dying. I basically thought I was dying because it was happening on a regular basis. I came across, and I also did back then in 99, there wasn't a lot of information on the internet about metaphysical topics, and this definitely not about near-death experiences that I remember seeing. And I didn't have my NDE until a couple of years later, but there wasn't that much on out-of-body experiences either. I came across an article that talked about sleep paralysis and described what I was having, and talked about how it is a perfect way to have an out-of-body experience. And one of the benefits, or one of the things that you can do in an out-of-body experience, is connect with your loved ones that are in the afterlife. And I thought that was the perfect way for me to find my dad, my stepdad, who I was really close to, and know that he still existed, that he was still, his soul was still doing what he loved and things like that. And I started reading everything I get my hands on out-of-body experiences, and studied like crazy, and did all the exercises that were in the books, like Robert Peterson, Robert Monroe, William Buellman, the classics from back then. And I started having them. Actually, my first classic out-of-body experience where I was able to sit up out of my body and stand next to my body in my bedroom was about 6 weeks later. And I've journaled over 2,000 since then. I did find my dad. It took a little while, but I did find him. I found my mom after she passed, my biological dad, and I actually was helping people at that time with checking in on their loved ones in the out-of-body state. I also started working with a group called Child Finders, where I worked with psychics, and I used the out-of-body state to check on missing children, to see what had happened to missing children at the time too. And yeah, so I got hooked. Yeah, I mean, it takes practice. It takes focus and practice and commitment. I started out just kind of exploring in my house and in my room, and then as I started out that way, because a lot of the books out there say to start out that way, right? Because when you start projecting and move into that state, you're going to normally, be in the earth, on the earth plane, in that realm. Okay, the real-time zone is what some of the teachers call it. And you're in your, you're in your room, and things look a little bit different, but you're in your room. Sometimes you can see your body on the bed. I never really looked for my body, but the one time that I had the impression to turn around and look, it was extremely mind-blowing for me because I didn't recognize who was in my bed. And I'm looking at this person with blonde hair and the blankets, and I'm like, who is that in my bed? And then it took me a second or two to realize, oh my gosh, that's my body. But I had no attachment, felt no attachment to my body. And I knew that this consciousness, this part of me, was who I really was. This is my soul. That body was just my vehicle, was just something I use to move through my life, or that realm. And so as you move and learn more and raise your frequency, because it's about frequency too, the higher you can go in the realms. I've gotten to where I don't project that much in my room that anymore. I've since I've been doing this for over 20 years, I usually just reality shift. I call it a reality shift, where I'm awake in a different realm. I'm, maybe on another planet. I've traveled to other planets many, many, many times and continue. I've seen many different beings. I sit with my guidance a lot. I've gone to other places on the planet. I used to lead a group where we would have monthly group trips. I've actually built a temple in the higher realms that is where we have healing rooms, we have libraries, we have those types of things, and we invite in speakers from the higher realms to sit and to speak to us as we meet there. There's a
So you actually get together with several people and you have this out of body experience and you travel to the same place and you see each other and you remember it when you come back?
That's the goal. We've had many hits. Yes, yes.
Okay, so what about these speakers that you invite? They go to this temple in the astral world?
Yes, in the higher planes. Yes.
The higher planes. Okay. Well, that's really interesting. So have you actually, had certain experiences with other people's? And what about deceased loved ones? Where do you find them? Do you reach the doors of heaven, or where are they found?
No, I haven't seen any doors of heaven. I haven't seen that. I've all I do is set my intention to travel or to communicate with someone, to visit them or have them, meet in those realms. And I'm going to say 8 times out of 10, it happens right away or soon after I make the intention. It may not happen in the first try. What I found is the rub with out of body experiences is the normal projection or their normal experience is from a couple seconds to maybe a couple minutes, which is the goal, or the challenge is to make it last as long as you can, because there's so much to do and it feels so good. I mean, my favorite thing to do is fly. When the higher you go in frequency, the easier it is to fly. So flying, I mean, it's like being in your body here, only the senses are again more heightened, and you're flying and you make that intention and you're flying. It's just amazing. And so you just set that intention to visit who you want to visit or who you want to commune with. And it's usually pretty easy to find someone, a loved one. Say if I'm checking on someone that is that someone has to check when in and out of my experience. I usually don't, since I'm a psychic medium, I do that in that way now, but I can, or sometimes they might come visit me as well. Okay, someone's loved one might come visit me before I have a session with someone or after. That's happened before. Yeah, and you can set an intention, and it's when I first found my dad, he would always come to me in something that was from his era, because he was born in the 20s, because he'd be wearing like the zoot suit kind of thing, and a hat, and always his dark rim glasses, horn rim glasses, because I used to make fun of him when he wore them when they weren't cool back in the day. And so so I know that's him because he's wearing those horn rim glasses. And he would be dressed like that. He has a great sense of humor, so we'd have just normal conversations. Hey, Dad, how's it going? Because when you're there, you don't normally have, I mean, your consciousness is blended with your higher self and you from here. So the more excited you get, it ends the experience. So you try to, you're even keeled, or you try to be even keeled, but that's just kind of how you are there. And so we'd have conversations like that. Just in like meeting him here. Hey, Dad, how's it going? Because on the other side, there's no death. They're still with us, and we're still around, and they're off doing their thing. I met my mom. What's funny is my mom, this is a good one. I met her on Venus. She was on Venus. I traveled to Venus, and it wasn't an intention. Oh, yes, it was. A group and I went to the temple of on Venus, and the temple of Isis on Venus. And I was there, and my mom met me there, and she looked really young, and she passed a chest stuff, and she was in her 70s, and I really missed her. And so she had pigtails. She looked like in her 20s, but I knew it was her. I recognized her right away. And I asked her mom, I said, "Oh, Mom, it's so good to see you." I said, "Do you like being on Venus better than being on Earth?" And she said, "Yes, being on Earth is like being stuck in the mud." Kind of, sort of, right? Yeah. Because she had a tough life. So experiences like that. Yeah. I've also done spirit rescue many times, and on the other side too.
What is the role of this leaving your body and going to these planes? Not only the astral, but the higher ones too.
Yeah, and people ask me that, what's the benefit? Why do you want to do that? And to remember who we really are, and that we are so much more than our physical bodies here on this earth plane. And with paying attention to our nighttime travels, when we do leave the physical realm, we remember who we are, because we're multidimensional. This is just this realm and this personality here, this vehicle that we use to move around in our day-to-day life is just a small part of who we really are. And the benefits are, I mean, they're infinite, really, when you think about it. We can connect to our loved ones. And then as you become aware of who you are multidimensional, and you're exploring the afterlife, it teaches us that we don't die, and we can learn how to die, because we don't really know how to die. All right. In Western society, we don't know how to die. And so it teaches us how to die. And also that we don't die, that our loved ones are okay, and that there's so much more that we can do and that we are doing in the higher realms as our multidimensional selves. And why not? I mean, it's when you're in the out of body state, the Marvel comics come to life. You know what I mean? The superheroes, you become like that, because that's who we really are. Yeah, so it's pretty amazing. We all travel out of our body all the time, every night. Okay, some more than others, depends on what we're focused on. There's lots of methods that you can use. I I believe that everyone, what I teach also is that everyone has their own rhythm, and you can use different methods. Sometimes one method will work for you for a while, and then it doesn't work as much for you or work as well, and then you try another method. There's lots of methods. The method I like to use is called the indirect method, where I use the what we call the twilight state, the liminal state, as you're waking up or just going to sleep or in between sleep cycles, where I imagine that I'm moving my astral body, that type of method. And before I know it, I'm actually in my astral body. I'm disconnected from my physical senses or my physical body, disengaged from my physical senses, and I'm in my astral body. The key is to recognize the mind awake, body asleep state. Okay. Sometimes you're laying there in bed, and this is the indirect method. Sometimes you're laying there in bed, and you can also use the direct method, which is going into a meditative state and relaxing your body completely, where your mind is awake, body asleep, which is what Monroe calls it, the focus 10 state. If you're familiar with the Monroe Institute and those states, he called it, which is the ideal state for all travel, mind awake, body asleep. It's where you're disengaged from your physical senses. And no matter what method you use, that's where you really need to be. And so you can use that, there's ways to get to that state where you can lay down, take a couple hours to relax your body, in the middle of the day, whatever, during a session, that type of thing. Taking a nap is a good way to find that because you're not completely in the REM state, usually, sometimes. And also, what I like to use the method of wake back to bed, where you sleep for 4 to 6 hours, get up, stay up for about 30 minutes or so, go back to bed. And it's ideal that you don't go back to the bed that you sleep in, but another place, and kind of nod off and enter that state, and so that you can disengage from your physical senses and get up and go. And so what you're doing is you're just disengaging, and it's the classic out of body experience. It's kind of a misnomer where you think you're actually outside your body, but you're actually going inward and disengaging from the physical world, the physical senses, this 3D world, I guess that we call it. And so you're moving within, is what I found out, where it makes sense. And so when you are in your what we call non-physical, but it's extremely physical, more physical than it is here. The senses are heightened in the out-of-body state or inner body state, the higher body state. You can't really tell the difference between this physical state and when you're entering into your second body, astral body, or higher frequency bodies, because it's just as physical and more physical. Yeah. One recent was I was a purple being. I didn't know I was a purple being until I looked down, and I have to tell myself to look down, which I normally do, but sometimes I don't. I was with these purple beings. I felt like they were feminine, and they're telling me they're from. And this one woman or this female is talking to me. She's this really long, tall, purple, beautiful, light purple skin, long legs, bald, no hair, but humanoid. Um, and, 2 legs, 2 arms, just really beautiful. And she's telling me that we are the League of Narn, or I thought she kept saying Mars. I said, "Oh, we're the League of Mars. You're the League of Mars." She says, "No, not Mars, Marn or Mon or Narn." And I kept saying League of Mars, and she's like, "No." She kept correcting me. She said, "Look." And so I looked down and I saw that I was one of them, and that we had been commissioned to rescue an aquatic being who was a leader of his community. There's lots of times where I'll just be floating out in space, or floating, out in the ethers, or wherever you want to call it, out in the realms, and I'll call on someone or call on my guide, and there they are, and they'll meet me. I seem to go to the ocean a lot, because I'm an aquatic, I'm a mermaid, and so I go there a lot. And it took me a little while to not panic once I come out underwater, and I realized, okay, I can breathe underwater. I'd shoot straight up to the top of up to the surface, uh, and then I would learn, okay, I can breathe, teach myself, I can breathe. And I saw myself many times. And this was after my NDE because I went to a water world and I didn't know, I hadn't put it all together yet. I didn't even have that much memory of it.
What can you tell us about the present state of mankind? Where are we headed to? What's going on, according to you?
According to me, according to the world of Sharon, yes. So 20 years ago, when I started working with my teacher, Yeshua, who met me in my NDE, Jesus, and my other higher guides, they showed me what was going to happen. I was shown pretty much pretty much what's happening now. Timelines have changed because what I saw was worse. Okay, but timelines have changed, and that's good because we're waking up. This they called it the grand plan. You know, we can call it the age of awakening or the great awakening or whatever we want to call it. But they call it, to me, they call it the grand plan, to where we are moving away from this 3D matrix, the matrix we've been, living in, and we chose to come into to experience duality that we're the higher beings that are here that have not had the chance to experience in the higher planes. And so we're moving out of this, what I understand is we're moving out of this matrix into a higher way of life, higher frequency. But we have to go through the growing pains, I guess you could say, because there's so much light being bombarded onto the planet, into this matrix, this reality. This when you kind of like do a detox, it's like that. So there's the shadows are being brought to the surface so that we can see all that we've been, has been hidden for centuries. Okay, so many truths are coming out that have not been. They're being revealed that we haven't been told or taught or remembered for so long. So many star beings, star seeds, I guess you could say, have come to the planet to be within the system, have reincarnated in the system, this matrix, this system, because we had to come down to the trenches in order to make this work. And so these are the people that say, I don't belong here, this doesn't make any sense. I can't understand. This doesn't make any sense. I just don't belong here. So these are the people that are here to help with waking up the masses, helping us, helping to connect and create these communities like you are doing, AJ, create these communities so that we remember who we are and can move up in frequency. And as we move up in frequency and help those around us and to be of service, we bring the humanity up with us, because no one is left behind, you could say. We bring humanity with us, and it's scary and exciting at the same time. I mean, it can be tough. There's so much going on. It's pretty chaotic, but we are moving up, and people may notice that our thoughts are manifesting very quickly now because we're moving up in frequency. And so yeah, it's pretty exciting. I'm glad that Yeshua said, no, it's not your time back in 2001. I wasn't happy about it at the time in my NDE because I'm like, no, I want to stay here. And he was like, well, I think you'll change your mind once we sit down and talk about it. And he showed me what my role was, and how it's pretty exciting times.
Tell me about the course that you're going to impart soon. It's going to be in May, right?
Yes, it starts May 5th and it'll be all month long. And we meet live every Sunday evening, and I share information on out of bodies, what sleep paralysis is, how to achieve the sleep paralysis state without being afraid of it. Also, lots of methods to leave or find, get into the out of body state, be able to leave your body, and also lucid dream, because lucid dream is a really good gateway to turning a a dream into an objective out-of-body experience. That's huge. So as you work with your dream state, you'll start having all these experiences, okay, that you wouldn't normally have. Okay, it'll just start happening. And so I'm teaching that. It starts on May 5th. Again, we'll meet for 4 Sundays, and you'll have communication in between, support in between when we meet after, when we meet live. And I'm available throughout the month, and people can share their experiences throughout the course. It will be on my website, SharonSananda.com, SharonSananda.com, and it will also be on my academy website, which is KumaraAcademy.com.
Sharon, thanks for coming. I'm going to include your links.
Thank you, AJ. Okay? Yeah, it's a pleasure to see you again.
This has been the AJ Parr Spiritual Journalist Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe.